Tribes, a simple civilization game, a game that you can see behind the design. There is the idea of letting you play a civilization game that takes less time than it would take you to develop an actual civilization, and one that doesn't take 5 PhDs to play, which cannot be said for all civilization games out there. Basically, out of the Pleistocene and into the Bronze Age in about 40 minutes or so. Without further ado, let me show how the game works. Each player has a starting land, which is made of 3 hexes that are drawn from a bag. At the beginning of the game, you need to make sure that you have 3 different types of terrains, and the terrain is indicated by the type of resource that it produces, say sheep, horses, and I guess soup. Anyways, each player also has a number of tribe members that will expand as the game continues, cubes that will go on the board to record achievements, as you will see, shells that are used to acquire actions, or just say to acquire good actions to give you flexibility when it's time to acquire actions, and then also each player has a set of cubes that go on these 4 tracks here. Each player places a cube in the lowest space on each track at the beginning of the game. Here you have the main board in which you place these tiles. The ones at the bottom represent the first epoch and they are face up, and then you have the ones that go there in lines and they are face down. Also, you will always have 4 per epoch, but there is a total of 5 available per epoch, so you shuffle them and you remove 1, so that each game some options will not be available. Next to each epoch there is a stack of event tiles, so we'll see soon how those come into play. But I can already tell you the general idea is that players will perform actions, complete achievements, unlock these other tiles, and then the next level of tiles. From time to time they will trigger events, and when a certain number of event tiles of the last epoch is resolved, the game is over. The number depends on the number of players. At the point you count the victory points the players should have collected during the game and that are recorded with these tokens, plus there are several things that you score at the end of the game, such as largest tribe or largest land, and then you determine who the winner is, and that will be the player with the most victory points. What you see up there, that line of tiles, is pretty much the main engine of the game. What you do during your turn is you select one of the tiles, so you perform the action indicated on it, say procreating, yay, babies! And after you're done, you place that at the end of that line. If you want to take the first tile, that is for free. If you want to take the tiles, say, suppose I want that one, then you need to place shells on all the tiles until you can reach the one that you want. In this case, for example, you have a tile that has 2 actions. You choose which one you want to take. You can make more babies, or you can acquire an achievement, and then same idea. This also means that if you select a tile that has a shell or multiple shells on it, you get to take it. In the game, as we said, events will also occur, and events are represented by these tiles. Remember, there's a stack like this next to each epoch. When an event comes into play, it is placed at the end of that line. As the game goes by, it will move, and it will move, and it will move, and at some point it will reach the first position, which actually doesn't mean that the event is triggered. The event will be triggered when somebody selects it for their action. And sometimes maybe you have a negative event that made it all the way there, and people keep piling up shells on it because they never want to take it, and so that's a little bit of a consolation prize. You get the bad event, but you may also get a bunch of shells, which may be good because they give you flexibility later as your opponents are stuck constantly taking the first tile whether it's good for them or not, because they don't have shells. The number of shells in the game is limited. There's no way of acquiring new shells, and I like that very much. I like that airtight mini economy. So the idea is select a tile, perform the action, and you're good to go. Now, what are these actions? If you take the foot action, then you can move, and you have a number of moves equal to the movement value indicated here. At the beginning of the game, each player has a movement value of 1. If later in the game you're able to move your cube up, and we'll see how, then your movement value is 3. That means, and suppose my movement value is 3, and I took the movement action, then I can move a single person by up to 3 spaces, 1 single space, 1 by 2, and 1 by 1, etc., etc. I have 3 moves that I can split among my tribe members as I desire. Somebody takes the procreate babies, the procreate and making babies, then you add a number of tribe members equal to your procreation value, which is, you guessed at the beginning, is 1. Suppose that mine right now is 2, then that means that each time I take the procreate action, I get 2 new tribe members that I need to place together with pre-existing members, because the stork does not deliver babies in empty areas. That would be very irresponsible. Then we have the explore action indicated by the eye, and when you do so, you get to draw a number of tiles from the bag equal to, I think you see the pattern here, to your exploration value. In this case, that would be 1. I draw that tile and I place it in my land. And when I place a new tile, it has to be next to 2 other hexes. So that would be okay, that would not be okay. And suppose that later in the game I have more tile, my tiles, my land is expanding, and after a while my land, maybe it looks like this. And also I had all these people, and I've been moving them around, and as of now, my land kinda, sorta looks like that. Now, the action that you've seen on some of those tiles, the hand, is the achievement. Basically, you complete an achievement. To do so, you look at one of the tiles that are available, and if multiple are available in the same column, you have to start from the lowest one. And to complete an achievement, you have to demonstrate that you have access to the resources that are necessary to complete it. For example, here you need to have access to sheep. You simply have to demonstrate that you have a guy on a sheep tile like I have here. This one you have wheat, and this one I have horses. So right now, as things are, I could complete actually any of these 3 achievements. And suppose that I decide to use the achievement action to complete this achievement here. Then I take one of these cubes from my supply and I place it in the leftmost space of that tile. What it does, first I score the number of points indicated there immediately. That would be 2. And I place the cube there, so the next player will be able to only score 1, placing the leftmost. So first I get that. Second, if I'm the first player to place a cube on an achievement, then I also unlock the achievement right above it. As you can see, achievements of later epochs require more than 1 resource. And in order to get to a second one, to a second level achievement, you need to have a cube in the one right below. Unless each player has this token here, which can be used once per turn, and once per game, and it allows you to place a tile. If you can complete the achievement, to place a cube on a tile, even if you don't have something right underneath. Otherwise, usually you have to build up directly. And so suppose then that I want to complete that achievement, which indeed I can, because I have 2 people on horses, and then I place my cube there, and so on and so forth. When you complete an achievement, you also improve your stats in one of those categories that you saw earlier. For example, I have these achievements, I have +1 babies and +1 exploration, that means that I move my cubes on those tracks accordingly. There's a track that you haven't seen yet, which is the clubs, the strength, and simply you acquire those by completing certain achievements such as this one, and then you go up on that track. And there will be game effects that will, especially events that will refer to the weakest tribe or the strongest tribe. You determine that based on your position here. Of course, the higher you are, the stronger you are, and that determines who receives certain game effects. Speaking of events, if the square where you placed your cube has a little lightning bolt, that is what tells you that it's time to add an event to the end of the event track. This is pretty much the idea. One extra thing, when you're completing events, when you're completing achievements, you can also choose to exhaust your lands. That is, suppose that I want to complete the achievement right there that has 2 soups, and earlier I completed this one, so it's totally legit. I want to complete the 2 soups, I only have 1 soup, then I can choose to completely exhaust a tile that I have someone on that will never be used or counted for anything anymore, but that counts as a wild. So by showing I have a soup and I exhaust one of my tiles, I can now complete the 2 soup achievement. This is pretty much how you play. You will acquire resources, you will try to get the best tiles from the line that is up there. You will complete achievement to improve your stats, to make your actions more and more efficient. You will face events that are not always good, you gotta deal with them, and at the end of the game, after a number of events from the 3rd epoch have been resolved, you count the 3 points, and the player with the highest score is the winner of the game. Tribes. I have a little bit of mixed feelings about this game. From the rulebook, I thought I would like it more than I actually did. The first time that I played it, the game felt completely flat. I was just going through the motions, and even seeing the things in there that I was supposed to care about, to be excited about, to find interesting, and yet somehow those things just didn't click in my mind. Something, I don't know, I didn't have that tingling feeling down the spine of excitement as I'm trying to pull off an action, I'm building up towards a certain payoff. It just felt very bland. It felt like maybe as the designer tried to boil down the civilization concept to a very manageable game, maybe that was boiled down too much in the boiling process, too much of the flavor went out. It just felt a little flavorless. Now, I played a second time and I liked it more, so maybe it's a little more of an acquainted taste. I liked it more, but again, still there were things that bothered me a little. In particular, for a game that is this simple as a Euro game feel, there's maybe too much luck because there isn't enough luck. Meaning, if I'm playing a war game in which I roll dice probably 1,000 times over the course of a night, then luck paradoxically plays a small role because with such big numbers, weird rolls will even themselves out. And then you have games where you really have little luck. Here the problem that I have is that you only have a limited number of those achievement tiles, and 3 of them are removed at the beginning of the game, not used, which I like in terms of replay value, but on the other hand, with such a small number of achievements, so that is based on a certain type of terrain and with a certain type of reward, there is a very real possibility that one type of terrain or one type of reward will be removed entirely. I've seen a game in which all of the achievements that would give you clubs, would make you stronger, were taken out of the game. We realized that and pretty much we semi-restarted it to put some of those. Otherwise, the entire game would have been every effect, which is the strongest team or the weakest team, we were all the same because there was no way in the game to increase that that stat. It could have happened with procreation, making the game incredibly long because people can't procreate and then they have their initial trimen running around like madmen. It could be without movement and then people will move very slowly. Or it can also be, in fact, that a certain type of terrain is removed entirely. And I've seen that too. I've seen a game in which the type of terrain that produces soup, it looks that way from the tiles, was out of the game entirely because, or almost entirely because all the tiles that were removed randomly at the beginning of the game were those. And guess who was constantly drawing those terrain tiles that then became virtually useless? Yes, I could exhaust anything and turn it into a wild terrain, but other people were using the terrain that they needed that was valuable in that game, and other people weren't. So to me, that's a non-inconsiderable thing, because one of the resources or one of the achievements may be entirely or almost entirely removed from the game. And you know, if there is one resource or one achievement which is only in one level, in one tile at level 3, that is like virtually removed from the game. So maybe the idea would be during setup, don't do the selection completely randomly, make sure that there is a variety of things still available, play with every tiles, I don't know. As is, there was just not enough luck that things would even themselves out, but enough to actually be relevant, because if you draw new tiles from the bag 10, 12 times during the game and 3 or 4 of those are useless to you, that is a big hit on your chances to win the game. So, it's not a bad game. Again, it's not a bad game. The second time, I kind of enjoyed it, although, again, there was too much luck or not enough luck for my taste. It has the advantage of being a game that you can play with a lot of people. It's very simple. It's very intuitive. You can play with casual gamers. You can play with young gamers. It may be a little too straightforward and sometimes on autopilot for hardcore gamers. Yes, because based on what you have and what you need to do, very often the next decision is pretty obvious. So again, I didn't feel that there were decisions that were very tense, that were very exciting. And sometimes there are games even simpler than this one that do generate some interesting decisions. This game just felt a little too bland for my taste, with the exception of maybe the element of luck. Nothing that I directly hated, even that I didn't hate it. I didn't like it all that much. It's just not a bad game. There isn't any huge deal breaker, but somehow it just felt okay. Didn't feel incredibly fun or exciting. And in today's game market, with the amazing offers that we have, this is just a game that does not really measure up to some of the best Euro games or casual games or family games that we have out there. Try it. Not that bad, but not that good either, in my opinion.